Boss Rush 620 Day 2. So this is going to be exactly the same as Day 1. So you can just go check out the Day 1 video from yesterday and see all the different strategies that we had because we've got Babbling Book again as our first boss. The one advantage of Day 2 is that the artillery strike requirements are a bit lower. So we've got Shek'zara as the second boss with 180 HP blue, Banehollow as the third boss with 150 HP red, and then Ursula and Kresh with 250 and 260 HP green and red on the last boss. That's actually Kresh's 250 with 10 damage reduction. So a little bit easier than the 350 red that we had with your charge. So I'm just going to do a run here with the comp I've been farming this day with, or Day 1 with, which is the Geddon comp. And we're using Nemsy with Bog Moss, Balinda with Water Elemental, Bwonsamdi with Arena Contender, Geddon with Mark of Conflag, Genn with Gilnea's Strength, and Edwin with Rounder's Drinks. And the I've replaced Rogers with the Edwin here because when you get down to the end, if you've lost your Nemsy to like an early flurry, for example, and you end up with Balinda, Genn, and Edwin against the Fork, when you have just Rogers there, the Fork likes to target Rogers. So it can be very difficult to kill your Balinda off when you're having to summon these beastly beauties to tank the melee hits. So Edwin makes it easier to encourage the Fork to still hit your Balinda because you can use these Genn summons to buff your Edwin and your Genn out of range of the Fork, and then he's more likely to hit your Balinda and finish her off. You could also use Voon in this slot, who can shoot your own mercenaries. Or if you still need the blue artillery strike, you could use Rogers here still, and in that case I would use the ship's bell equipment. It does seem to be the best for helping deal with the Fork. But those are basically the only decisions to make with the comp there. It is nice if you get your Nemsy to have enough hit points that she can survive a flurry hit from the plate regardless of the frost anomaly. So somewhere around 200 HP, and it's quite cheap to get all of these to 15. It's only, to get all the treasures to 15 would only cost you, I think, 990 renown if you started at nothing. And then getting these up is another few hundred. And then getting all of this abilities to rank 10 would cost you like less than 400 renown. So getting her up to around 200 HP is pretty cheap. I would guess it's somewhere in the ballpark of like 20 to 25 runs at 155 renown per run. So like a few thousand to get her up. So if you haven't invested in Nemsy yet, you probably should because she's pretty strong, and the can't touch this is very useful situationally. This is a very high frost anomaly. So that would actually kill me. I need my Nemsy a bit bigger. So there's an example. Hopefully he just melee swings. Oh, he's not. He's flurrying. He's getting in there. So this is an example where you could consider freezing the plate instead. I'm just gonna not, though. I just always freeze the book. I don't like dealing with the long animations. You can even restart your client or use a firewall to block Hearthstone so you get a reconnect to skip the animations. Alright, so we did lose our Nemsy, so I'll get to show how the fight goes at the end with the kind of messier Fork cleanup.
Do you take me for an ordinary mage?
But that's an example of why having some HP on your Nemsy is good. These guys have a pretty high health anomaly. This is a very difficult anomaly roll. So we always do the same thing here. We're just shooting the book, infernoing and bouncing, and then getting a freeze on the plate. We never freeze the Fork. I just always position like this. It gives your damage mitigation to your water elemental. In this case, the attack anomaly is too high for that to be relevant, but sometimes it does matter. Okay, so if you get a 6-speed attack this turn, the Doom Charge, it can slow your wand so that your binding contract might get outspeeded by the double strike when you try to use it next turn. If that happens and you really need the extra damage, you can freeze this turn on the fork. But he's not using the 6 speed here. I don't need the damage anyway. You're less likely to need that damage if you have a good enough Flame Dart and Inferno. So sometimes even if he uses the Doom Charge here, you would want to not freeze him. The other thing is, even if he Doom Charges you there, he can just Doom Charge again the following turn, in which case your Bwonsamdi would still be able to cast the Binding Contract in time. It's actually better to put Boggy left of that elemental, so it'd be in between there, but it doesn't matter because their attack is too high. Okay, so we do need to shoot the book because he's got too much hit points for just my Bwon and Geddon. So if you learn some of these breakpoints, like how much does your Binding Contract plus your Inferno deal, you can very quickly make this decision for your farming run as to whether you need to target your Flame Dart on the book. I already know that I do need to target it. And I do 1420 with this. So the book will survive if I don't swing with this elemental or the Boggy on it. But I can also finish it off with another Flame Dart next turn. But I'm going to go ahead and swing with the Boggy here. And I might still have to Flame Dart it if this fork, for some reason, decided to target the Boggy. Also, I would miss my Binding Contract activation. I've never had the fork swing at Boggy here, though. He always seems to target the Bwon. So I don't think he's like trying to swing at something behind the taunt or anything. And we don't have our Nemsy, so this cleanup is going to be a bit messier. And that flurry is also very dangerous. So if this had used the 4-speed here, I would have to shoot it. But it didn't, so I'm just going to shoot the plate instead. And this is coming in with a 4-speed, so since we don't have... I actually forgot that I had a dead Nemsy, so I should have left Boggy alive here. That would have been safer. But instead we have to make a Genn summon. Okay, and now this would die to an AoE, but I don't know if I want to AoE this turn. So I do need to act with Genn before this fork acts, or he could die. So we'll just shoot with him there. And I don't really care where that hits otherwise. I could freeze it as well. I do want it to kill these guys, though. So I'm just going to... see, do I want to AoE? No, it would do way too much damage. So I'm just going to put a Living Bomb there and do a little bit of damage. Hopefully, he might swing it again. Hopefully he doesn't.
Stone by stone, Stormwind shall fall.
Okay, so now he could try to kill either of these. I'm going to get a summon out here to boost the Edwin health. And I'm actually going to freeze him now because you can't freeze the 4-speed, so you might as well freeze this. And I'm going to shoot my own Geddon in case that becomes relevant. Okay, shooting Geddon some more. I don't really want to do extra damage to him yet. Oh, right. That heals. Okay, did not act still. So yeah, don't heal your Geddon if he's made himself even speed with the heating up speed increase. Okay, so now we're gonna let that go through, and I want to. This is why I wanted to leave hit points here, because I want to ensure that my Edwin does not get crit. So I need to act with him, and it's fine if Genn gets crit. So we're hoping that he targets the Geddon, but we're hedging in case he targets the Edwin. Alright, there we go, we got through it. It's a little bit messy. That the mistake that I made there was I shouldn't have swung with Boggy. I could have either swung with the Water Elemental or just assumed that I was going to Flame Dart the book the following turn, which was probably the best play, since we did have the very high damage flurry that run. So holding both water elementals for the plate was beneficial, just in case we need them for that cleanup. And then if we had the Boggy, we would have had a little extra time to set up for the Geddon and Balinda death. Get that a little bit cleaner. You can see here the lower artillery strike requirement, so only 180 for Shek'zara that we just had there, no 150 for this guy. And then we'll have our double 250 with the extra 10 mitigation on Kresh. So I'm going to put a few more points of my Nemsy, and then I'll just do one more quick run. See a little more variety of some of the anomaly and ability outcomes for farming. But I did find out my Nemsy needs to be a little bit stronger. So let's see, what did I want to level? So Can't Touch This is obviously good to raise, but it gets more expensive. This Smother as a Murloc is pretty good. This one, the Bog Down, is actually bugged, and it applies this nature weakness to every instance of damage dealt by any member of your team. So this ramps up very quickly on enemies, and it seems like enemies can also apply it to you. So there's some weird stuff going on with it there. I don't think I want to raise that more right now. Peaches is also good to raise. It's also good to get the damage abilities up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get these up to 15 because that's the cheap cost breakpoint, and I wanted to do that anyway. And she'll do a little bit more damage. And Bogonomics is probably the best one to raise, but I don't really want to raise it more right now. Peaches is good to raise, Can't Touch is good to raise, and then these two. And then the others, you just kind of like put points in when they're cheap. I wouldn't really raise them above 15 until you've got everything else quite a bit higher. So I'm going to put a few extra here. And that should be plenty to get her to survive. Even that crazy high anomaly. It's very rare to get an anomaly that's like above 200 by that much, so I wouldn't worry too much about investing heavily in your Nemsy. Right. Much more normal Frost Anomaly. And he doesn't even cast Flurry every time anyway, so.
You take me for an ordinary mage?
So I don't even look at the plate typically. If it flurries me, that sucks, but it's fine. And then if it ends up killing my Balinda or slowing my Bwon too much, then just restart. But I've only had to do that like a couple times in like dozens of runs.
Do you take me for an ordinary mage?
You think that could beat me?
So again on turn 3, which is next turn, you can figure out if you want to freeze the fork if it's using a 6 speed. I typically don't.
Do you take me for an ordinary mage?
He is using the 6 speed, so if he uses the 4 speed next turn, we'll lose our Bwonsamdi without him getting to act.
Do you take me for an ordinary mage?
It seems to be a 50-50 if he uses the Doom Charge or the Double Strike, so hopefully it's a Doom Charge. But it's fine if it's not. It is, so we do get this here. And I do need to shoot the book because these are not enough on their own. It is nice to have your Bwonsamdi binding contract leveled up because it gets 14 damage per rank when it's activating from him dying, so pretty good one there. We're just gonna freeze that, and then I don't really want to AoE this guy. He's pretty low already. So I'm just gonna summon a new Boggy here. So we might need to take our time a little bit with the cleanup. So now he's double striking. I could AoE this turn, so this does 319 for me. That should be fine if I AoE him and don't crit him. And I don't need this anymore. And I'll just do nothing with Nemsy. Oh, right, that was 5 speed. I intended for the water elemental to swing first. I didn't actually want to do that extra damage there, but it's fine. So now we're just taunting. I should have just queued the Geddon after the elemental swing.
I can smell your fear.
And we're saving Nemsy for last so that she can provide everyone with a taunt.
Stone by stone, Stormwind shall fall.
And there's a pretty standard quick run. So the bigger your Geddon, the bigger your Flame Dart, and then the easier it is, and then the Nemsy. And we whiffed, so that's a failed run, but... also the other comps from day one, again, still work fine, so if you wanted to do the Malchezaar comps, or the RNG comp, you could do that again today as well, so just go check out the day one video if you want to see how those play. Good luck on your run.